Hello everybody and welcome to the final third, and today we have a bit of a special video. As we are currently in the international break, we are going to be doing a bit of a different one where we're going to have multiple different topics and we're going to discuss them. So let me just tell you what we're going to talk about. So it's going to be the young top young players in their position, retired players that would do well in the current era, managers that are under pressure, and build our perfect player all-time Premier League. It's a bit of a weird set of topics to talk about, but we've decided to go with that, so hopefully you guys enjoy. So before we get started, Al, do you want to reveal the player from the previous quiz?
Yes, the player from the previous quiz was Julian Lescott.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the top young players in their position. Now, the criteria for this is it's either 23 or younger, as that is usually what they give the Young Player of the Award for. So we'll start with the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper is Robin Rolfs. I think that's how you say his name. We can discuss on why we think that, and yeah, what do you guys think of his season so far?
To be fair with him, look, you got to just look at how Sunderland are doing already so far. You know, the expectations that we had for them, they've over-exceeded them, and I think he's definitely been a strong part of that, especially for such, you know how hard it can be for young goalkeepers. Obviously, I remember when James Trafford came up with Burnley, and a couple of seasons ago, I don't know if it was a couple of seasons ago, I believe, didn't have the best season, even though he was so great in the Championship. It just shows it's not necessarily it's a very hard transition. But to be fair to him, he's done really well, helped Sunderland get to the position that they're in, and hopefully for him it can continue. But yeah, no, he looks like an exciting goalkeeper. Has made some good saves for them and kept them in some games. So yeah, you got to give him the credit where it's due, man. So that's my thoughts on that. But
what about your analysis on him, Hassan?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's been crucial for Sunderland this season. He's made some very good stops. Stops that you expect from a very elite goalkeeper in the Premier League. And yeah, you gotta give credit to him. And as Ali said, the reason why Sunderland did really well is obviously down to him as well. Obviously, they brought in very important players like Mukiele and Xhaka, but I feel like the goalkeeper is a very important position in football. And if you don't have a confident goalie, as we've seen with Man United, for example, that could cause all hell to break loose. So I feel like, yeah, the goalkeeper position is very important, and the fact is he's made a transition from Championship and Premier League really well. So yeah, you got to give credit to him.
Yeah, 100%. And to be fair, things you got to take into consideration too is that he could probably be up for goalkeeper of the season, not just young goalkeeper. So that's also another thing you got to keep in mind. We did discuss honorable mentions. I feel like for this one, it's maybe a bit more obvious than maybe the other ones. We said Lemens. Lemens hasn't played enough for him to sort of be in the conversation just yet. He has been great for Manchester United from what he's done, and from the top of our heads, we didn't really think of any other young goalkeepers under the age of 23 because normally they don't really break through at that age. So yeah, we've gone with Roofs as our one there. For the defender, we have actually picked Nico O'Reilly. Al, what do you think about that guy?
Yeah, when I've watched him, he's been absolutely amazing, whether it's contributing with goals or just defensively. And look, we've talked about how City have struggled with fullbacks in recent years, and I think he's come in and done a really great job, especially coming from the academy and stuff. And it's just, yeah, no, he's just been really good for City, whether it's just defensively or going forward, helping dictate play a little. The passing, I think he's a really good player. He's an exciting player, and yeah, no, he's doing really well right now for City. But yeah, no, that's what I think. I think he's just an exciting player, and every time I've watched him, he's excited me. And to be fair, I think he's done a really good job so far with City. So hopefully, it continues for him.
Hassan, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. So I think he's had a great season so far. Obviously, for me, it'll be Lenioro because I think Lenioro last season was very important to Man United. They didn't do the best last season, but I feel like without Lenioro, would have done much worse. But yeah, Nick O'Reilly's been really good. I mean, against Salah, he boxed him that whole game. So yeah, and he was very, in some games he's been very crucial in the attack as well. He scored a few goals from last season as well. So he's been great defensively and attacking as well. So yeah, you got to give credit to him. He's still a very young player and he's doing really well for a big team. So yeah, respect to him.
To be fair, when you talk about Nico O'Reilly, I think it's almost like he's been shoehorned at left back, but he's done unbelievably well because he's a midfielder normally, plays defensive midfield, and he did really well in that position for Man City. It just shows how versatile he is and how he can play in a lot of positions. I feel like obviously in defender and left back, obviously he dealt with Salah really well defensively and going forward. I think he had a chance against Liverpool to score, and he scored as well, and he's got a few assists. So fair play to him, and I think he's quite good. And like Hassan was saying, our honourable mention was Lenny Yoro, but because again, we more compared minutes because it was really close, but O'Reilly has played more minutes than Lenny Yoro this season, so we've given O'Reilly the edge on that one. In the midfield, we picked Adam Wharton. What do you think of Adam Wharton?
Yeah, I think he's just an absolute crucial player for Crystal Palace and the way they play. We know how important that position in the team is, and I think Adam Wharton is such a he's a sought after player at the moment, and we know that he could easily get a big move in the summer, and deservedly so. He's been absolutely amazing for Crystal Palace, dictating games, controlling the tempo of games, and it's just what you want in a player in that position. And fair play. He seems a lot more mature than he actually is, and I think he could easily be like, obviously you got like Declan Rice that came through as a youngster, and he was something like that. Maybe you never know what the limit is for him really. But I think if he gets a big move in the summer, again, I think there's no limit for him really. I think he can achieve any level at that point because he's got the talent for it for sure, and he's got the attributes as well. I think honestly he could go to any team really at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, Hassan, what about you?
I think he's an indispensable player for Crystal Palace. Like, Crystal Palace with and without him is a huge difference. I think there've been a few games where he's been injured and not played for Crystal Palace, so obviously that will negatively impact the team, especially with a player who's very crucial to the side. Not having a player like that can definitely make or break the team. So you gotta give credit to him because he's been a very important player for Crystal Palace and a major part of the reason why they've been successful. So they've won 2 trophies and he's been a big reason for that. So that's what I want to say about him.
100%. I feel like he's definitely a player that they can also get a very high transfer fee for, something around the 100 million mark. Obviously, English tax does come into account too. But he is an unbelievable footballer. And there is another, obviously, the honourable mention for probably the centre mid position or the midfield position is Elliot Anderson, who's been unbelievable this season too. But I feel like because there is such an age gap, I think Wharton plays so mature for his age that I feel like he might even go for more than what Elliot Anderson will. So we've gone with Adam Wharton for that. And in the attack, we've gone for Estevao. Honestly, I don't know his full name. And even if I did, it'll probably be something crazy and I can't pronounce it. But Estevao is the attacker for this section. Al, what do you think of Estevao?
Look, I think he speaks for himself really with the goals he scored and the contributions he's had. I'm surprised he's not starting a lot more than I thought for Chelsea, if you know what I mean. He comes off the bench quite a lot, and maybe that's just because of his age, but I think he seems more experienced than a lot of the players that are starting over him, considering that he is younger than them, which is kind of crazy to say really when, they got players like Pedro Neto and Garnacho, but obviously Garnacho stinks up the gaff all the time, so he's easily going to get in over him. But look, Estevao is such a special talent at the moment. Achal's had him as his young player this season, and deservedly so. He's absolutely amazing, and he kind of reminds me of Willian in a way. I don't know if that's you know what I mean. Gives me that kind of vibe.
I'm pretty sure his name's Estevao Willian or something like that.
Well, if that is, that's kind of crazy coincidence. But no, genuinely, he does give me that Willian vibe for Chelsea, if you know what I'm saying. The way he plays for them, and hopefully he can be, maybe as good as him, and maybe even better. To be fair, the potential's definitely there. And he just seems amazing. It's just the dribbling, the goals, everything. He's an exciting player. It's what you want to see in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Someone that excites you, gets you off your feet, and that's what Estevao does. I mean, even remember the last minute goal he scored against Liverpool. So it's just even crucial goals like that at such a young age is crazy. So fair play to him. He's an amazing talent. To be fair,
Hasn't?
Yeah, I agree as well. He's come up in big games, played a big part in those wins, especially against Liverpool. And he's a very technical player, very silky on the ball, very quick as well. So I feel like he's got the tools, for what it takes to be a very good winger. I think obviously he needs to improve on certain things like decision making and other aspects of being a winger. But I feel like he's got a very good foundation to become a very world class winger in the future.
100% agree with you. He's a very skillful, quick, and to be fair, for his age, his decision making is really, really good. Obviously, he can improve on that part of his game, but I've seen, very good players not being very good at decision making at a young age and make it and be some of the best in the world. But yeah, huh?
I'll say Ganacho.
Forget that fraud. Yeah, I would say the honorable mention for this, and we discussed this before, Max Dowman, but I feel like he's just too young and hasn't had enough game time. He probably will be here next season where he'll get more game time. But again, this brother's still doing his GCSEs, so yeah, let him focus on that.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to the next topic. So the next topic is the retired players we think would do well in the modern era. We're going to follow the same kind of format. Position. So we'll start with goalkeeper, and we decided with Peter Schmeichel. Al, do you want to sort of discuss maybe why?
Yeah, I just think, the things that he could do back then just would transfer to the modern era. Like, realistically, with goalkeeper, I mean, you could kind of put any of the top goalkeepers from the past there, because it's not been that much of it. Like, yes, okay, in terms of distribution, there's been a massive evolution in terms of the goalkeeper position, and certain teams want their goalkeeper playing out of the back, but we can see how sometimes that doesn't always work out. Considering Martinez made a mistake the other week that cost the goal, and you know what I mean. Sometimes it can. Obviously, we know realistically the goalkeepers are probably technically the worst players on the pitch, obviously, and so sometimes playing out, trying to get your goalkeeper to play out the back isn't necessarily a good thing. Whereas Schmeichel did what I think is the most important. Obviously, the most important thing for a goalkeeper is keeping the ball out of the net, and he did that the best, in my opinion, and that's why we've put him in as our goalkeeper. Like, these two boys are United fans. I think they're going to be able to speak better about him than I am. So I'll just give it, the reins to Hassan to talk about him.
So yeah, about Schmeichel, obviously he's been very crucial for United over the years. Obviously in the treble win in '99, a big aspect of it. So yeah, you got to obviously think about him in that way, because that whole team in general just elite team, and obviously his leadership roles as well. He's a very good leader in the team. I don't know if he was captain at some point or vice captain.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously that leadership does come into play and does help out a lot, especially at the back. A lot of teams are disjointed, especially in corners and set pieces and whatever in the Premier League. So I feel like having a goalkeeper who's commanding in the box and knows what he wants from his defenders, or like in free kicks or whatever, make sure the wall's like perfectly done or whatever. So I feel like having a leader at the back like that is very important in the modern game. So I feel like that's why we've chosen him for that reason. But I think that obviously the shot stopping is the most important aspect of being a goalkeeper. Like, yeah, distribution is great and all that, but I wouldn't think it's make or break for a goalie. I think the most important thing, as Ali says, is just keep the ball out of the net.
Yeah, agreed. There's not really much more you can add to that. You could put any goalkeeper really that you think is, or any of the top goalkeepers. You could say Petr Cech. You could put, all of the other ones that you could think of. Even Van der Sar if you wanted to. So yeah. Let's move on to the next position, and that is defender. Now, we discussed this quite a bit, but we thought who would be the best with, like we were saying, the style of play currently, playing out from the back. And it would probably be Rio Ferdinand, if you think about it. Al, well, obviously, you also played for West Ham, so you might be able to give a little bit of an insight,
Yeah, mate, you know what I mean? Like, he played for West Ham, what can I say? Came up the academy, but no, on a real, but like, what can you say? I mean, the ball-playing ability at the moment, as we know, again, playing out the back is such an important thing at the moment for a lot of teams. And he with the ball at his feet, he was really good at that. So I think realistically, he could transition very well into the modern era. And yeah, no, with his abilities that he has, his attributes where he was like really good at, I think is perfect for the modern era. And genuinely, yeah, no, I think he'd find it pretty easy. Have no problem. Obviously, he also had the physical attributes as well. It wasn't just the technical, attributes as well. And yeah, he just seems like a player that would come in, do the job, calm down, have that calmness in the defense, if you know what I'm saying, where, when he has the ball, you're not worried. He's going to play out the back. He's going to make the right passes. He's not going to make a mistake. Because again, you need someone with the good technical ability in this day and age to be able to play a centre back, because before it used to just be about hoofing it, you know what I mean, Brexit ball, clear the ball, if in doubt, get it out type shit. But nah, not anymore, man. You gotta be able to play with the ball, mate. So yeah, now that's really important, and I think he did that well, to be fair. So that is why we've picked Rio Ferdinand.
For me, I think Rio's just a Rolls Royce in defense. Like smooth, calm. You can rely on him to get out of any situation in defense. And he formed a very good partnership with Vidic. So I feel like if he's with a very physical defender who likes to, obviously no nonsense type defender who just goes at the attacker, that'll be a perfect duo between him. Like I don't know which modern player now I'd put alongside him, like because there's not much of those players like no nonsense that just goes in for a tackle.
Elect.
Like maybe Delict, yeah. The Delict and Real would be a good partnership. But yeah, on a real note, I feel like if you find the defenders who complements Rio's strong points, I feel like that'll be a very good partnership. And I think a player like Rio is actually not a dying breed, but very hard to come across. So I feel like that's why he's our named defender. And yeah, he's played in very important games for us. Crucial finals in 2008 against Chelsea and 2011 against Barcelona. So yeah, he performed well in big games, and he's won everything. So yeah, you can't really say no to him.
I feel like just one thing as well, when we're looking at these players, it's like, who would you take in your team right now? Of any players in the past? That's also something you got to take into consideration. Obviously, with Schmeichel, like we said, it could be any goalkeeper. But for Rio, I feel like from the past, he would be the one that you could say, slot into my team. He will come in and he will do unbelievable job, or the best job that obviously we think of any retired player from the Prem. So yeah, I'd probably go with we probably would go with Rio Ferdinand for that. In the midfield, we decided for Patrick Vieira. Al, why is that?
Again, luck. He had so much good things about him. Obviously, a great captain, as we know, which I think is hard to come by these days, to be honest. In terms of not necessarily just like captain, but the leadership that he possessed. You know what I mean? That's not something a lot of captains really have. I think you got players look, I'm not even gonna lie, like you got Bruno. He's a captain, but no offense, I don't think he's that good of a captain. I think he's an awful captain personally. I just don't think he has that leadership that like Vieira had or Roy Keane had, to really get into players and get the best out of the players around them. Vieira did that, and not only that, he was so good technically on the ball. Like it's unbelievable. I mean, yeah, no, it's just there's not a lot to say about these players. It's quite obvious. We know how good they were technically. And just with the modern era, I just think they'd be able to slot in easily. I don't think it would be a problem for them. And yeah, no, they were players that were able to adapt, whether it was because of age or whether it was because of the team they were playing in. So again, when it comes to the modern era, I think they would be perfectly fine, to be honest. And yeah, I think his leadership would be very, very good right now, especially considering it's like Hassan said before, like with dying breeds, it's a dying breed, that kind of leadership. I don't see it enough, in my opinion. I don't see it enough.
Yeah, well, I want to say firstly about, as you mentioned, Bruno Fernandes. I think it's quite unfair to judge him based off the teams he's played with. Obviously, he's played in the worst era of Man United in a very long time. So it's unfair to judge him based on what team, because Vieira and Keane, they had insane teams, very good teams. Like Keane played with the likes of Ronaldo, Giggs, Rooney, Scholes, you know what I mean? So they had very good players, and same with Vieira as well. Like a lot of good players for both teams. So I feel like it's very easy to lead a good team, whereas a team that's struggling are not doing well. If it was like all the weight is on you, because that's what Bruno Fernandes, all the weight was on him, and he was the one performing, and scoring the goals and assisting everything, whereas most people in the team didn't really stand up, you know what I mean? So, but anyways, moving on, I think, Vieira was a great captain. He basically, I won't say invented the number 6 role, but he was very good at it, and at times he'd be more of a box-to-box player as well, and sometimes get involved in the goals and stuff. So yeah, very versatile midfielder, very physical, very good, and yeah, he had a big presence on the pitch. So yeah, you definitely have to put him in there. I would also say Paul Scholes, because of his insane long distance passing. We don't really see that often, with the diagonal balls, especially with Scholes, with the accuracy he used to hit the passes with. Like he would barely miss them. It would be always perfect. Perfect pass, the perfect speed, just perfect for the attackers to get a hold of. So yeah, I feel like we're kind of missing that as well, because now it's been passing around the midfield sideways and backwards. You don't really see long passes often anymore in football, which is a bit sad to see. Because sometimes you see these long passes, you be like, oh, how the hell have they done that? But now it's just simple passing. Now it's just a bit more IQ related rather than technical ability. So yeah, that's why I'd want to have play like Scholes, to change the play, switch it from one side of the pitch to the other. So yeah, I'd put Scholes as well, to be fair, with Vieira.
I mean, we've gone for Vieira for just a multitude of reasons. I feel like Vieira can do almost every aspect you want from a midfielder. He's very physical. He can, pass the ball quite well. He's, for a midfielder, he's quite quick, especially for his size. He's not, the craziest technical player, but he's he can do everything to a very high level. So, obviously we've seen how well he's done for Arsenal, captain of the Invincibles. That's something that you can never take away from him. So, yeah, that's also a very important reason why, leadership is such an important thing, especially in the midfield. You guys know how much I love talking about the midfield. So yeah, I feel like he's just one of the best of all time. So, that's why we put Vieira in the middle. Let's move on to the attack. And again, we've taken lots of things into account, and probably what a team would need the most right now. Obviously, it's very easy to say Thierry Henry, so I think we've just avoided that, and like Ronaldo as well. We've gone for Didier Drogba. Al, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, when you just look at him, I feel like, I don't know if this is crazy to say or anything, but like kind of reminds me of like Haaland, the way he can bully defenders. You know what I mean? That ability.
You mean Haaland reminds you of him?
Yeah, I mean, either way, because it's sorry, that makes more sense. Yeah, what am I on about? But you get what I'm trying to get at. Like the similar players in that sense, the way bully players, the head in. It's like the way they use their strength. They know how to use their strength, and that's important. A lot of players, they're strong players, but if you don't know how to use your strength, then there's no point. You know what I mean? Because realistically, it's about timing of coming in for tackles and challenges and shoulder to shoulders and stuff like that. And yeah, Drogba was just a menace, man. You know what I mean? I'd hate to, I'm sure defenders hated coming up against Drogba. You know what I mean? This guy, and talking about clutch players, Mr. Didier Drogba himself, he was the clutch player. In the finals, the big man. He was big game player. That's what he was. And you know what I mean? That's something he has that Haaland maybe doesn't, unfortunately. Haaland hasn't done it in enough finals, unlike Drogba. And yeah, I think Chelsea, to be fair, could do big time with someone like Drogba, let's be honest. I think a lot of teams are struggling with strikers at the moment, and Drogba would fit in any of those teams and just be able to like take them to the next level, really. But yeah, especially with set pieces now as well. I think you'd be able to get on to the end of a lot of those set pieces these days.
For me, I say about Drogba, I think he's one of the most complete strikers in Premier League history. Like, he's got all what you want from a Premier League striker. He's got the strength, he's got the pace, he's got the shooting. His older play was good as well. But I think he, as Ali said, his biggest trait is probably just, finding a way to score in the biggest moments. He's done it against Bayern Munich in the final. So, yeah, like, it's just, he always finds a way to score when you don't expect it. And that header was one of the most powerful headers I've ever seen. Like, it's crazy how he just got like that top corner against Neuer, like prime Neuer. So yeah, like it's just, he's an insane player. Like, and of course you got the classic knee slide celebration as well. He was such a good player. So yeah, exactly, bro. Like yeah, honestly, watching Drogba retire is probably I wasn't a Chelsea fan, but I really liked watching Drogba. He had a lot of iconic moments as well. So yeah, I think that's why we've picked him. Really, he just how to say, epitomizes a very good striker.
I agree with what you're saying, epitomizing a clutch footballer. Like you guys said, he performed in finals like no other, really. I don't really know many more Premier League players that was as clutch as Didier Drogba, and he could score every type of goal. He could score a long shot, he could score a header, he could score any type of goal, free kicks. This guy was unbelievable. And then obviously you talk about the physical presence, which you guys have already discussed. So I think you guys have covered why we picked Drogba quite well. So that is the retired player side of things. Now, we're going to move on to the managers that are currently under pressure. I feel like this is a very important point to talk about, especially now that we are sort of in a period where there's no games being played. There's three that we've got on the list. I feel like it's better if we all discuss one, if that's fair.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to do it like that? Just I feel like it'll take too long if we all discuss,
Yeah.
what we think of each. So, Al, do you want to talk about Marco Silva?
Marco Silva, yeah, look, I don't think it's at his fault of his own, really. I think the quality of some of the players. I think, do you know what is a big miss and an underrated player for them? I mean, in the midfield, Pereira.
You mean Paulinho?
Andreas Pereira.
Yeah.
Oh, Andres Pereira. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he was. And Paulinho, no, you're 100% correct. I think the midfield is so important, and those those losses have been, detrimental to them, because just look at them. They're just not playing well at the moment. Even though they do have some good players, it's just not enough. The quality is not enough, in my opinion. And I think there's not much Marcus Silva. But again, I think it's the team's still better than where they are in the league. And look, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe Fulham fans are going to call me crazy, and they might call us all crazy for putting Marco Silva even in this. But I just think they're below par, very below par at the moment. And you kind of have to look at the manager a little. Why is he not being able to rally up the players? Especially when there's been a lot of games where they've got the lead and they've still lost the game. Now, is that game management? Is that motivation? You know what I mean? You got to look at these kind of things. And unfortunately for Marcus Silva, it's just been an awful season. I mean, you could try and look at fixtures and this and that, but look, again, I just think at the moment it's not really looking good for Marcus Silva. I think there's probably a bit of pressure. Again, Fulham fans, if you want to put in the comments whether you think he's under pressure, what your thoughts are, maybe where the problems really do lie. Is it the manager? Is it the team? Is it all like, what is it? You let us know, innit? But yeah, no, I think he is a good coach. To be honest, a couple of seasons ago, I thought he could go on to be to a bigger club, to a bigger job. But unfortunately now, it's hard to say really, because unfortunately the recent performances aren't going to really help him get a job, a bigger job anyway. But yeah, the only problem Fulham would really have is how would you replace him? Who do you replace him with? There's not really, I don't think there's anyone they can replace him with that would do any better, if I'm being honest, again. But unfortunately, yeah, I just do think he might be under a bit of pressure. And if I'm being honest, we couldn't really think of too many managers that were under pressure. So we just thought because they're underperforming that we'd chuck him in. So yeah.
Hassan, another manager that you probably say is under pressure, and rightfully so, is Eddie Howe. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I agree with that because Eddie Howe's just not been performing to standards. Like as a manager, I think that there's certain games you can look at. How Newcastle managed that game like really badly, like especially the one against Liverpool. I know Newcastle played really well, but I think he didn't control the game to the best of his possibility. I think that Newcastle quite open in defence, and even recently now Newcastle just getting losses from every team in the league. So yeah, it's not looking good for them at all. And I think since that Barcelona loss, when Rashford put 2 against them, they've not been the same team. They've fallen off quite drastically. So yeah, it's quite sad to see because with the squad that they are probably one of the best midfielders in the league. So you look at that squad, even the likes of Nick Pope and goal, he's been a very great goalkeeper in the Premier League at times, and they've signed young talent as well up front, Elanga, Voltemada. So they've got a lot of good players, and it's looking really bleak for them at this moment in time. Like just not been the same team as they were last season, and they're in the Champions League still. So they need to start finding good form now. Otherwise, they'll get knocked out in the group stages. I don't know how well they're doing the groups. I don't think they're qualifying right now at this moment. I don't think they're first or second in the group phase. So I think they need to start playing better.
The league phase now, Hassan.
Oh, the league phase, my bad. Yeah, honestly, I'm still stuck to the old format. So yeah, I'm so used to it at this point. It doesn't feel right that there's a whole league for Champions League, but yeah, I feel like Newcastle do need to step it up, and Eddie Howe could be under pressure after the season. I think that if he doesn't get a trophy, if he doesn't perform well in the league, get top 4, because right now they're quite low on points, so I feel like if he doesn't get top 4 this season, it'll be quite rough for him. And I don't know where Newcastle will go after him. I don't know who they'll look for, but yeah, I think that this season he should do well. There's no excuses for him to not do well. He's got the players. He's got a
100%.
great, a great set of fans behind him cheering him on. So I feel that they have to do well.
Can I just add something to that?
Agreed.
Quick? Can I just add something to that? I think
Sure.
it's just crazy to think that Sunderland are playing like much better than them at the moment. You know what I mean?
Much higher than on the table as well.
You know what I mean? And I think genuinely, at this rate, bro, I think Eddie Hearn would do a better job than him. With this team. We talk about managing the team, but at this rate, Eddie Howe is looking bleak. I think for him. I think he's taken the team as far as he can, and I don't think he could do any more personally. I think this is it.
That's okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I told you lot. Did I not tell you lot? I've said this. I said Sunderland are gonna do it.
Look, let's put it on the games. You need to wait.
Yeah, listen. I feel like Sunderland, they just have been on a very good run of form, and
I know.
Newcastle aren't looking very convincing at all in any of their games. So yeah, let's just leave it at that for the Newcastle side of things. But another manager who, let's just say, is under a little bit of pressure from recent results. Mr. Arne Slot. It's not looking good currently. They just don't look convincing in any game this season. Even the Aston Villa game when they won that, I know they played well against Real Madrid, but again, we're talking about Premier League. There's no game this season where I would say they were convincing and dominant. Not one. Obviously, the Man City loss, the most recent one, was shambolic. They were terrible. I mean, Kanate, bloody hell. The fall off of him is crazy, to be honest with you. It's really crazy to see. Van Dijk, obviously, as well. I don't really know what to say about Liverpool. Could it be on him? Probably, because I feel like he might have added too much to his squad and not in the right positions. When you invest 200 million on 2 strikers, which I'm guessing you're the man who has the final say on that, it's stupid, because you have Ekitike, who does fantastic, and then you go for Isak as well, who, there's not really much point in signing 2 players, and I know he's not doing well. I mean, Wirtz ain't doing well, to be fair. And these are all players that you signed off. Now, again, they could come back from the international break now and just,
Can I say one thing as well?
Go ahead.
I feel like with Slot, I think you raised a good point. Like, because with Klopp, we didn't see him making really big signings, like especially one transfer window. He didn't spend 500 odd million, So I feel like it's definitely a Slot thing. I think he's definitely decided to go for these players at that price, because owners could easily say, "No, this is too much. We can't pay this much." But I feel like he's definitely said or had the final say on the transfers. So yeah, and I think it is a big mess. We looked at it and thought it was the best transfer window of all time, but now it's looking like the opposite of that.
I feel like when you look at the players and how well they did for their previous clubs, you could probably still say that. Yeah. But I feel like the thing is, they invested in the wrong positions. Like, they invested on 2 strikers when they needed to buy a centre back. Obviously, they almost bought Mark Guehi, but in the end of the day, they didn't. So it's
sucks to be.
I feel like that's another position where they really have fallen off in the centre back. So I mean, we've discussed it so many times, but I don't know if they don't pick up form soon. Listen, they've got Nottingham Forest in the next game. Can they win that? I don't know. Forest are looking quite good. Deitch, what's he going to do? I think he's going to Anfield as well. I don't know. It could be a very interesting game. So, I feel like Slot is under a lot of pressure, and he's a forward, and he's the second coming of Ten Hag. So, just wanted to put that in there. Let's go on to the final topic of conversation, and probably the most exciting one for us, and that is building our perfect Premier League player. Now we're talking about all time, so we've got a multitude of things. I think if each person discusses a certain sort of stat, I guess. Al, who did we pick for left foot?
We picked Mo Salah. Yeah, of course we picked Mo Salah. Look, before we were trying to debate who is it going to be, and to be honest, I think it has to be Mo Salah. I mean, you look at some of the goals this man scored. Bro, it's funny because this guy, I swear, he gets criticised every season, and at the end of every season, we still say that he's one of the best Premier League players ever, and deservedly so, because not only the consistency, but the stats, obviously this season hasn't gone so well, but in previous seasons, like, he's just been absolutely amazing. And yeah, I'd love a left foot like his, to be honest, and the dribbling as well. I think his dribbling's underrated. I know a lot of people, they always, do you know why they think his dribbling's not great? It's because they're comparing him to Hazard all the time. You know what I mean? Of course his dribbling is not going to look great.
Hazard, Mahrez.
Yeah, but when you compare it to them lot, it's like, of course it's going to look. Of course it's not going to look great, but I think his dribbling's madly underrated.
Yeah, all it is really is that he's just not as silky as those lot.
Yeah, it's not part of his game. He's inside forward. He doesn't need to.
Like, I get it, he's not as entertaining with his dribbling, maybe as such, but people are just, they love to hate. The haters, man, just haters. But Mo Salah. Like, let's be honest, it's got to be Mo Salah for the left foot. But yeah, Mo Salah.
That's fair. Hassan, who did we go with for right foot?
Before I go to right foot, about Mo Salah, right, I want to say this. If he was English or Brazilian or whatever, he'd be getting, like, definitely, like, unanimous best Premier League player of all time or whatever, because his stats are insane. He's a good player.
I agree with
that. I think the fact he's Egyptian and his national team isn't that strong, he's not in that conversation, or people don't often put him in that conversation.
Yeah, he should definitely be in the conversation. I don't know if he is number one, though.
Yeah, but I feel like if he had a good national team, he would be up there. Like,
yeah,
and I think it'll be a very good, like, literally hardly any debates over that as well. But anyways,
that's fair.
I'll move on to my one. Yeah. Right foot, Cristiano Ronaldo. It has to be Ronaldo. I mean, his shot power was insane. His free kicks were really good. I mean, his free kicks as he went to Real Madrid, not as good. He had a few good free kicks here and there, but I feel like at United is where his free kick technique was at his best, with the knuckleball technique. And yeah, like, I mean, I think even the goal against Porto, I think that was one of the most powerful shots ever recorded on a football pitch. So yeah, like, Ronaldo's shooting has always been good. His finishing has been great. Obviously, when he was young player at United, he wasn't the polished version. He was still a bit kind of like Garnacho was, for the start of us. Like, Garnacho was very bad when it came to, like, decision making, whatever. Now at Chelsea, he's getting better. I feel like as a young player, right, when you come in, you want to be the forefront of the attack. You want to try too much or whatever. I'm not comparing Garnacho and Ronaldo. What I'm saying is that's similar mentalities at that young age, where they wanted to do everything themselves, shoot and whatever. Because I think there were stages where Ronaldo, I think Ferguson was saying that he's getting quite frustrated of Ronaldo for trying too much skills and trying to go for long shots or whatever. So, but then that's when he started developing as a player and going to Real Madrid and start scoring 50, 60 goals a season. That's when he improved his mentality and started playing really well. So yeah, I mean, at United he won the Ballon d'Or, so obviously that's also credit to the shooting. So, yeah, about Ronaldo, there's not really much I can say other than we know how good he is.
Also, another thing, I actually think if Mo Salah was from Europe or from, like, South America or from these, he probably would have had a Ballon d'Or as well. Just to put that in.
Agreed. I agree as well.
I think we'll move on to the next attribute, and it's pace. Now, there are loads of players that we could have picked from, but I feel like the one player who's really known for his pace, Adama Traore. This guy was something else. Like, he scored so many goals just from making crazy runs. He got so many assists, but not even just that. The other, what was it, last season? It was him in a foot race with Kyle Walker. And obviously Kyle Walker's probably the one you'd probably having a conversation with him. He left him in his dust. I know Kyle Walker was getting on, but still, Adama Traore, like, you could back him against any player to outbeat them for pace. So, yeah, Adama it is for that position. So, Al, do you remember who we picked for dribbling?
We picked Hazard, I believe so.
Correct.
And, obviously I just touched on the fact that, Salah and Hazard and the dribbling and stuff. But yeah, no, Hazard was he was a beauty on the eye, mate. Mate. The dribbling was just insane, bro. He's such an entertainer. I feel like every time he went onto the pitch, he went to entertain the fans. He didn't really, he obviously scoring goals and this and that, but his main priority was to entertain the fans. And I think he always did that every time he was on the pitch. And yeah, he was such a joy to watch. And I just want to say the biggest robbery or the biggest, tragic, bro, how the fuck is he a hero card on FIFA? Yeah, I want to have a word with fucking EA about this, because how the fuck, yeah, is he a hero and you got fucking Kumbum Chi motherfucking whatever his name is an icon? Yeah, who is he? Who is he? And you got Hazard as a hero. That is an absolute disgrace. Yeah, I just want to say it. And then you got like, nah, it's just taking the piss, mate. It's taking the piss. But like, nah, I just wanted to add that because that shit's been bothering me since they given him a hero card. Ever since, bro. Like, brother, who is Mom Cum Chi or whatever this guy's name is, bro? And he's got an icon. Like, genuinely takes the piss, bro. But anyway, going back to Hazard, yeah, nah, he's the best dribbler I think in like Prem history. To be fair, yeah. Sorry about that tangent, but yeah.
It's a valid tantrum, to be fair. But yeah, the next attribute, Hassan, is footballing IQ. Do you remember who we put for that?
We put down Kevin De Bruyne, is it?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah, what a player he was. He's won a few Player of the Season awards. He's been great for Man City over the years. He's won it all for City as well. Obviously, when they won the treble, still a very big reason why they won it. Obviously, Haaland was probably the best player that season, but obviously, who's feeding the chances? It was De Bruyne. You know, that partnership was great. You know, so yeah, and De Bruyne has, you know, the things about De Bruyne, I like his come up story. You know, he had a very difficult childhood and whatever, and he rose up to the ranks and started playing for a big team like Man City and won everything with them. So you gotta give respect, because he got rejected at Chelsea, didn't really do well there. Went to Germany, played there for a bit, played at Wolfsburg, and went back to City. So yeah, like, you know, you gotta respect how he's, you know, had that comeback story, and he's done it at the big stages. He's scored some important goals for Man City, and his creativity, like, I think he's got the most highest assists that tally in the Premier League history. So obviously he has to be up there, you know, and that all comes with his footballing IQ and how he understands the attackers, how they run, and tries to feed the ball on the plate for them. So yeah, you definitely have to say De Bruyne, you know, probably the best number 10 in the history of the Premier League. Obviously up there with the likes of like David Silva and, you know, everyone else who you can put there as well. But I think, yeah, De Bruyne is undisputably the best one. And for me as well, I want to say Paul Scholes. Different type of player,
Right,
not
you
a
and
number
Paul
10.
Scholes, like, what's going on? Like, what's the glaze?
No.
What's this glaze with Paul Scholes, bro?
No. Let me explain.
Calm
Okay,
down,
so
bruv.
they're different players, but I think Paul Scholes does what a lot of the like people now are saying from modern like midfielders like Vitinha and Pedri. A lot of people are praising them for how they dictate the game and control the game, and that's what Scholes did for Man United. Yeah, as Henri used to say.
Suck his toes at this rate, bro. Like, calm it down, yeah, with the glaze.
No, bro, let me talk, bro. Let me talk. You know what I mean? Paul Scholes, he dictated the game for Man United, and he was very influential in those games. Obviously, he still had a hell of a shot on him as well. That goal against Aston Villa and Barcelona. You know, so he can do those type of things as well. I think as well, in the 2002 or 3 season, I think he was playing behind Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I think he had like 20 goals that season. Whatever, for a midfielder is impressive, you know. So yeah, like, he was very influential for Man United, and he had a lot of course, the most important thing about him is his passing, you know. His long range passing was like the most impressive thing I've seen from a footballer. The fact he could just pass it from a player like 60-50 yards away and it will land perfectly on the feet. So yeah, we're kind of missing that in the new era of games. Now it's just, you know, passing out from the back and side to side and through balls and whatever. You don't really see those diagonal balls like you do from back in the days. But yeah, I'd say him as well. You could also say others as well, like Gerrard maybe, but yeah, I say, you know, De Bruyne first and Scholes, you know, just below him.
Yeah, 100%. But the final attribute, because we decided to do 6 attributes, is strength, and we decided to go for Didier Drogba. I know we already mentioned him in the video and previously in the video, but with all praises to him, he is a physical beast. I feel like he can occupy any pair of centre backs and give them a hard time. You know, especially back then when the centre backs you had to face were much harder. He did great against Vidic and Rio Ferdinand too, on a multitude of occasions. To be fair, in the Champions League final, he got sent off in that game. But other than that, you know, he performed on the big stage for Chelsea. And I think strength is just more than one attribute. It's not just, you know, being able to push off defenders and all that. I feel like heading ability, jumping, and like the general sort of physique of a player. I feel like he's unbelievable, and he can do absolutely everything with his strength. And, you know, he best used it in, obviously, the headed goal, I feel like, against Bayern, like Hassan was mentioning earlier, the way he bullied himself into the box and just got all the power on that header, basically forced a goal for Chelsea. So, yeah, unbelievable footballer, and his strength is going to be the attribute for the perfect player. So, that is our perfect player. Let us know your perfect player in the comments with the same attributes. That would be very interesting to see. There's definitely different players we could have put in, but I feel like this is the most well-rounded and best one we could pick. So that is it for the video, guys. We really appreciate you guys for coming in. But before we end the video, Al, do you want to give us the quiz for the next player?
Yes, let's start with the first fact. He was part of a squad that won a European treble in 2003, but it did not include the Champions League. The second fact, he played in a backline that featured a future Ballon d'Or winner, a future World Cup winner, and a future England captain, yet he was never any of those. Okay, the third fact, he was signed for a then record fee for a Portuguese defender, where his arrival was overshadowed by a flamboyant winger signed from Marseille that same summer. Fourth fact, he was suspended from international duty after publicly criticising his national team manager, yet returned years later to play in a tournament his country won. And for the fifth and final fact, he played in a Champions League semi-final where all goals were scored by defenders, including one from a player who would later manage him. Let us know if you can guess who that is in the comments, and we'll reveal him in the next video.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. Really appreciate your time. Again, leave a like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified when we upload videos, and we will see you on the next one. Take care, guys.
See ya.